affect you more. And I'm not going to tell you that it's an easy road that has been traveled, because it isn't. I find we hire women whenever we get a chance to come work at our law firm. We're 5 lawyers. And so frequently they get into practice of law for 2 or 3 years and then they go into another profession or just decide that it's not for them. So it's a very demanding field. If you want to be a good lawyer, you're going to have to sacrifice. I frankly do not have children, don't know how some of these great ladies combine a family and the practice of law, because I literally work 18 hours a day in my profession. But you're going to really have to work hard. It's challenging. And I will tell you that they have tried to keep it as a boys' club. We are making some inroads, particularly in the field of class actions, not as many as I would like to. Judge DeRusso, I'd like to tell you that it was Judge Adam McGee that broke up the Civil District Court Boys Club by appointing 3 women to the breast implant litigation. Breast implant, that's a women's case. until Judge McGee said, oh, women on the committee. She broke it up. Approximately 5 years ago, I had the pleasure of serving as one of the chairmen of discovery in the Firestone case, and we tried it in Oklahoma, and it was certified as a class action and later decertified. We had a female federal judge, and I'll never forget the first time that we went there in order to pick the committee. She looked around the courtroom and she said, "Where are all the women?" So everybody hustled back, and she came back like a week later when we saw these males bringing in their female associates. It's still a tough game.
What are some of the other challenges, Mary, in the office?
In the office? Yeah. You know, it's so big, and I'm not faced with that much, but I tell you, when I first started, you feel it even if it's not there, because all the older attorneys, all the named partners, because for so long it's been on the next world, and as Darlene said, in so many other aspects it still is. But so I would wonder if I was going to experience that kind of discrimination, because I'm a woman, and all of the male partners and all the male associates are much more aggressive than I am, and more demanding and push themselves forward for things. But as I went through the years, and this, every firm's different. Every firm, you're going to find something different everywhere you work. But as I went through the years at Stone Pigment, I felt very comfortable in that. I knew that if I wanted what they have, as Darlene said, you have to be aggressive. You have to go, you have to ask for it. If you want to take the witness, if you want to do the deposition that the male was planning to do, you have to walk in and say, I want to do that deposition. You have to assert yourself. I want to take that witness. You have to assert yourself. Where I am, it works. They're very receptive. They're glad you're asking for the work. I'm glad you're asking to do that. But if you don't go ask, you're not going to get it. If you don't fight like Darlene says, you're not going to get it. You do have to push yourself. Now, all of you may not want that. And that's what you have to be true to yourself. What you really want in life is what you look for and what you strive for. And you may not want to work 18 hours a day. You may not want to go out and be a well-known, successful attorney like Darlene. And you may find a niche that fits all of your personality, everything about you. But the most important thing is that you say to yourself, it's worked for me, this is it, buddy, take it or leave it. This is me, I'm going to do my best. And if it's not good enough for you, I'll go somewhere else. But there's going to be somewhere else where your best is going to be great and you're going to be appreciated. And that's what you have to find. I have been in courts, Darlene and I talked about this earlier, where that you can tell you're with the judge and there's a male attorney and there's a good old boy thing going on between them, and you feel like you don't fit in. But one thing I have to say, as part of what we're talking about, is how do you cope? One thing I have to say is that, while yes, I do remember those instances, you can't let that bother you. You can't let it eat at you. Now, you can let it make you stronger and make you stand up for yourself, but you can't let it eat at you, because other people have power over you. And so what you have to do is, when you're faced with something like that, you deal with it appropriately, but you don't let it bother you.
Now,
If I can remember the first challenges when I first got out of law school, you know, it was sort of a double whammy for me, being one of the first African-American women to join a majority firm. And my firm had a black male who was a partner, but he wasn't right out of law school. So it was challenging at 2 levels. But I think overall, when I look back on it, because I have been a partner in at least 2 other firms since then, you learn, you build a book of business and you can move. That's, like I would say, the number one thing. Then there's less that you have to take, the more security you have with your own clientele. But when I look back on it, I think if I could have always had and shown and demonstrated confidence, when you appear to be the oddball out, after a while it does seem to, wear at your confidence. And I think you have to constantly do things to rebuild your confidence on your own. The practice of law is different from when you're in law school. I mean, there isn't someone giving you a grade at the end of, a trial or at the end of writing a memo. So, your first couple of years, you get everything all written up on, you go to court, even if you win, you might have had a senior partner in there with you, still saying you could have done this different, you could have done that different. And I think that weighs on men and women alike, but I think that more so with women is we have to learn to let it go. That's over. That happened. That deposition is over, that trial is over, that motion is over, and you got to be ready for the next thing. Don't bring it up again. Just be different the next time. So, I think confidence plays in over and over again. But I think it's human nature if you lose some of that. Now, I go in and out of the practice of law because one thing I have never understood the concept of practicing law part-time. And even as a law professor, you would think that maybe you have more time, but I have to write to publish, which is intense, and it's I spend a lot. I do mediations for the poor, but they're just as important. So my preparation is just as much. So I work just as hard. It's a profession. You have to dedicate a lot of time to it, and you have to be able to. It takes a large amount of concentration. So. If I feel like I'm getting to the point where my children are about to graduate from high school and I've missed a lot, as they have grown up. I've been in trials for 6-7 weeks at a time. I had one trial that lasted 5 months, and that takes 100% of your time. And I think all these women know that, and it does mean that you sacrifice. I mean, but it's not. It's part of the job. You can't even consider it a sacrifice. It's what you have to do. And I never want to fail at anything. I know you all feel the same way. You never want to not appear that you're at the top of your game. So for me, when I have opportunities to take a break, whether it's in teaching, I ran the city sanitation department for a couple of years. But I think it's in your nature to work hard because you're a lawyer. I mean, you've got that drive. So it's, don't be hard on yourself. It's never going to be easy, but just by way of explanation, I had a series of trials over like 5 years, and the last one lasted 5 or 6 months. And so, when a teaching position came up, it was like a good time for me to do something and to focus on a new area and to write and to be able to come and speak and to get more involved in community activities, because a lot of things do suffer, especially, when you're in the trial or in the regulatory area. The regulatory area is very demanding, so I've done a lot of regulatory work where your time is not your own. So I think that you can tailor what you do if you're realistic. And realistic about what you can do, what you want, what your expectations are. And the beauty of the law is it does allow you to do that. You have lots of options. Don't ever feel that you're limited, because that law degree can just be used for so many things.
Kim?
I can remember being at a American Bar Association conference in New York, speaking on a panel like this on, it was a women in product liability panel, and the focus was on balancing family and work. And a very, very well-known woman stood up and really, I think, frightened everybody by saying, you can't have it all. Let me just tell you now, you got to choose. You're either going to be 100% career or have a family. You cannot have it all. And I disagreed with her then, and I disagree with her now, because I think that you can have it all, but maybe not all at the same time. And exactly as Nanette said, there are definitely sacrifices along the way.